Week 5 of my 2018 No Spend Challenge is in the books. Stay tuned to see how that went. Hello everyone, my name is Nicole from theladypreferstosave.com, and today I am bringing you my Week 5 2018 No Spend Challenge check-in featuring 10 tips for how you can start to save money in your own life today, even if you are not on a no spend challenge. My video today will feature my Facebook Live discussion that I had just a few minutes ago. So I'm going to go ahead and repurpose that again this week for the channel. So here is that video and those tips. And after the video, I'll be back with a few announcements for a few more budgetary things coming up on the channel.
Hello everyone, my name is Nicole from theladypreferstosave.com, and welcome to another Wednesday Ways to Save here on the Lady Prefers to Save fan page on Facebook. And as always, before I start my Wednesday Ways to Save tip, here are a few updates for the channel. For starters, if you are watching it on Facebook, welcome. If you are seeing this later on other outlets, including YouTube, thank you so much for watching as well. And in terms of my 2018 No Spend Challenge, I'm happy to report for a second week in a row, absolutely zero spending aside from allocated household expenses, bills that are reoccurring, and of course, grocery shopping. So that has been pretty awesome. I'm super excited about that. And you know, everything's been going really, really well with that. Now, in terms of this week, I also want to say that at the end of this broadcast, and give me a few minutes to find some files, I will be uploading a new printable to my site that will correspond with this week's theme. Also, I wanted to share that currently on the ladypreferstosave.com, under the meal planning section, I am listing each Monday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time a new free printable meal plan. My meal plans are whole foods plant-based or plant-based, keeping that in mind, but they are free resources. So if you need a little meal planning help, a little meal planning boot camp, if you will, be sure to check those out. Now, in terms of this week's Wednesday Ways to Save, I want to discuss something a little bit different, and that is just simply 10 ways that you can start saving today in terms of not just no spending, but just having a budget in general. I've received a lot of questions this week in terms of how to start a no spend challenge, how to go about financial success. Is it something that's really worth your time? And to that, I would definitely and publicly like to state, not only is it worth your time, but it will be one of the greatest investments you will make in yourself, in your family, in your home. And so definitely having a budget and finding ways to save is crucial in my opinion. And so I want to share with you 10 quick ways that I have over the last decade been able to revamp and revitalize my own personal budget, my own savings as someone who formerly worked in corporate America and then at home as an influencer, and as someone who helps to run my home with my family and my child. These are things that I use and I want to share with you. And the first, of course, is one of my favorite ways to not save is just not eating out. We find that we actually eat better at home. I have made a point of revamping how I buy groceries, in so much as I have a separate budget for my groceries than from items that I know will be staples or I need to buy in bulk or stock up. I do this for a couple of reasons. I find that the food is healthier, I'm having less waste after I eat, and I also have food allergies, so it's really hard for me to eat out in public and not have something wrong with my food. And so why subject my food problems on other people? So it's just easier for me to do it at home. And of course, meal planning and meal prepping works into that. But I find that if I buy the materials and make my own food at home, it's usually at about a 90% savings. Keep in mind, if you do buy meat or you buy dairy or you buy exotic produce, I mean, your mileage is going to vary with that. But generally, if you're sticking to meals that you love and you know everyone is going to eat, you will save money over eating out. Keep in mind, I realize that people do eat out for special occasions or birthdays, and that is something that's very culturally systemic to the way that the American standard diet works. And that's fine. But if you are going to eat out, the money that you will spend on that meal has to come out of your weekly food budget. So that's just another way of looking at that. That's how I plan for those meals. And that's how, if I am going to eat out on the rare occasion, that's how that would come about. But not eating out saves me literally at least $200 a month. So that right there is something to consider. Something I did in the past that was pretty bad is I used to eat out constantly with coworkers, or if someone was going to place a carry-out order or have something delivered at work, everybody would go around and pitch in money and buy things. And I found that in 1 week, back in the day, I actually spent $138 on going into group meals. Now that's in my current budget, that's a week and a half worth of regular groceries and a month or so worth of stock up. And that's 3 months worth of stock up if I'm doing Amazon Subscribe and Save. So that's quite a bit of money that I don't need to spend. So for me, I try to just knock that out and not do it. Another way that I have saved is by paying off my credit cards. And when I did have them, I made a point of paying not the smallest to largest, but the largest to smallest. This is contrary to what Dave Ramsey would say. And if that's the plan you're taking, by all means, stay on course, stay in those margins, do what you need to do. But I personally found that if I tackled my largest interest first, that I actually saved more money. And for me, it was a matter of sticking, money from income tax, any kind of side hustles, anything going on, to those higher interest cards, and that freed up quite a bit of money. Something else I initially did was taking one of my cards that allowed me to transfer balances, and I did that as well. And I was also able to call my card companies initially and refinance rates, and that actually took one of my cards, just by calling, in about an hour on the phone, I went from a 26% APR down to a 14%. And so that saved me quite a bit of money. I also in the past have been able to utilize points from cards to, even pay for one sole shopping trip at the end of the year. So that's something in the past that I've done. So I would recommend definitely paying off those cards. And that's not to say that smart credit isn't a thing. If you have the fortitude to use credit and you know that you'll be able to pay the entirety of your balance off within 1 month, do that. I'm not going to say not to do that. That's not something I'm doing, but I find for the majority of people, you really can't stick to that. And so it might be better to keep with a cash only system. The third step I would say is to invest in your home in moderation. This is something that is huge in my area. I live in what would be considered an upper middle class neighborhood. And though it's kind of like the show Fixer Upper, there's some houses that are on the lower end and the higher end within that, ranging from say 1920s bungalows up to more modern homes, a lot of mid-century ranches. It just kind of depends. A lot of people from the mid 90s on, before the market had its bubble, invested heavily in their homes, adding additions on and patios and porticos and Florida rooms and what have you. And it really was the idea then that this was going to add a substantial amount of value to your home. And they found that it just didn't. And in our area, there's actually quite a bit of homes that are on the market as people are moving more towards more rural areas, acquiring more acreage or whatever the case may be. It just didn't pan out that way. So I would definitely say invest in your home in terms of major renovations to things that are going to bring you usefulness today, not as something you feel will give you equity in your home 10, 15, 20 years from now. You really need to utilize your resources now. It might be better for you to have, say, better home appliances in the spring when the last year's sale models have gone down by half than to put that addition on that you had thought that you really needed. It might just be better for you to have one over the other. And I would definitely say in terms of those renovations and modernization projects, go small. The fourth tip I would give you is one of my absolute favorites, and that is to never pay for a service that you could otherwise get for free. And by that, I include newspapers and articles and, podcasts and ebooks and a whole gambit of things. There's so many free resources. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is to read. And so I always make sure to check out things like the Overdrive app and free books on Kindle, and of course my public library, or even to ask people if I'm in a book club online or something like that, hey, would you mind if I PayPal'd you the media mail rate to send that book to me if you're done with it? Would that be okay? And I often find that people are more than happy to do that. A lot of people would even do it for free. Make sure you always pay that forward, but never get a service that you could otherwise get for free, whether that's, Redbox. Wait, usually the first weekend of each month, there's free codes that you can find on their site, or sign up for their, the little text deals that they have. Movies, services in your community. I mean, there's tons and tons of free things that you can find. Go into your local pages, your Chamber of Commerce, look online at all the stores that you utilize and see what you can get for free, because you'd be really surprised at how much those little fissures in your budget come from things like books and magazine subscriptions, which you can get for free all the time. A great resource, if you've never seen the site, is hiptosave.com. They have a freebie tab, and they post constantly about free magazines and offers and things like that. Colin from Hip to Save is an amazing woman, and she has been in the savings game, if you will, for over a decade. She posts all the time. Definitely check her out. Something else that I would definitely recommend is for couponers. Don't use coupons for things that you would not normally use. And by that, I mean, why are you buying 20 bottles of hot sauce, or why are you getting things that you ordinarily would not need? I mean, there's a huge difference between having a family of 6 and stockpiling and buying things simply because it's a good deal. Sometimes that's not always the case. And in fact, in 2016, the American Economics Council put out an article that said they surveyed, with the help of Pew Research, over 3,000 Americans who used coupons regularly, at least 2 or more times a week, and found that 96% of people surveyed said they did not mind paying more initially for a product because they could use a coupon. Case in point, a lot of people get deals at drugstores. And yes, you can roll points and you can have deals, but it is commonly known that prices are raised as much as 30% on Saturday evenings for those products so that you can get a Sunday deal. You're not saving money. Often you will find that you could have got that product initially at a regular price without all the hoopla attached to it. So if it's something you're not going to use, you don't necessarily need to use that coupon. And also consider, again, sales cycles. Usually prices will drop once a season. So only get 3 or 4 of a product if you're really going to use it. And everything else, go ahead and pass on it, because the deals will keep on coming. Another thing I like to do is step 6, which is to shop early and shop frugally. Shopping out of season will save you thousands of dollars a year. If you need a new winter coat, get it in May. They're going to drop down. If you need to buy school uniforms, actually February and March are the time to do that. If you need to buy snow tires, you need to get that in summer. If you need to buy like external air conditioner units, there is rock bottom as they're going to get right now. And so consider buying in the opposite time of year you would need it to save thousands and thousands of dollars. Also, if you know that there's an expense coming up in your home, such as you need, for example, to get your furnace cleaned, or your HVAC system looked at, or you need your chimney flute swept, 3 or 4 months ahead of time is when you need to be doing that. You're going to definitely pay premium the month that that service is needed. So definitely keep that in mind. That's something that we do at home, and it saves us a ton of money locally. The 7th thing I like to do is to make sure that I am scheduling time for all of my loose ends. And by that, I mean, if I need to return something to the store, I need to put that in my planner or agenda. If I need to return library books, I need to go ahead and get that done too. Anything that needs to go back somewhere other than my house, it has to go. If something needs to be faxed, if I need to get something notarized, I have to put time in there. Procrastinating on those small expenses could save you a lot of money. And you wouldn't think about that. But let's say you got a movie from the library and you were just a day or 2 late. You could have literally just cost yourself $5 or $6 in fees. That's enough of accrued money that you could have went to Walmart to the $5 bin and probably bought the movie. don't do it. Schedule your time and make sure that you are scheduling in for those savings each week, and you're going to have enough left over to do extra things in your budget. There's no reason for those kind of expenses. And that includes remembering things like bank and credit union fees. Make sure you're scheduling little stuff like that in there. And if you are reminding yourself, if you have a membership that's coming up, make sure that you have money to cover all those expenses. Most of the time, I would say, overdraft fees and small stuff like that as well can be really prevented if you just go ahead and schedule that down. So that's one of my favorite ways to save, is just by using an online calendar. Google Calendar is my go-to, but I also, for business, use Trello. My husband uses his iPhone, notes and what have you. Tons and tons of ways to do that, but definitely schedule in for those savings to make sure that all of your returns, all of your memberships, all of your little expenditures are done on time and efficiently for you each week. The 8th thing that I like to do is to remember financial ratios. And by that, I mean all the money that comes into your home collectively after taxes has to be allocated. We like to do a zero-based budget, and that is remembering we have, each week, each month, we have ratios. We like to live on 70% of the income coming into our home. 20% of everything coming in addition to that, is going to go into savings, and that will be divided up between long-term savings or something that we need short-term, or even say slush funds for like car funds or a vacation or whatever it is. That money is allocated at that 20%. And the additional 10% would be allocated for things like if you tithe at a church, or if you give a charitable contribution, or you give politically to an organization or a PAC, or whatever the case may be, that money would go into that. Considering that my husband and I do have a collective sum of money, but we do have separate monies coming in, so those same ratios would equally apply to that. But making sure that we stay within that 70-20-10 rule really saves us a lot of money. In the past, that was not the case. We way overspent initially on what we should have had in terms of what we paid for our mortgage. We overspent on credit cards. We bought more than we should have allocated in terms of groceries and things of that sorting. And so reminding ourselves that these are definite numbers, but then within each number, you can, reevaluate your budget as needed, helped us, but that 70-20-10 is a constant. And so it's something that has saved us tens of thousands of dollars over the last decade. And the 9th tip would be, right in the same vein, we make sure to review our budget weekly, monthly, seasonally, and yearly. We again schedule this into Google Calendar, and we sit down as a couple and then as a family and discuss finances, because things are not static. They're not going to stay the same. As your children grow, they require more resources. They eat more food. When you have dietary concerns, such as I do, your budgets change. Maybe you have health concerns, or you have someone who's transitioning back to the home, or someone who's transitioning out of the home, or someone who has to work out of the area. Whatever the case is, you need to constantly be reevaluating your budget. And from week to week, that may be as much as making sure you've gone to the bank and pulled out cash and allocated it into, say, a money jar or money envelope. Did you fund all your slush funds? Did you each month make sure that every dime is allocated in your budget? Seasonally, do you have bigger expenses that you need to make sure that they're covered? Are you going back over your yearly goals? And of course, at the end of each year, we take one day where we do two things. We pull out our family calendars and planner, and we make sure that we plan out any event that we have coming up for the year. And then we turn right back around and we make sure that those events fit into our budget. And we literally allocate an earmark every single day on the calendar where we need to see where we are at that financial goal. And we go ahead and put a timer on it, and we reevaluate. Most of the time, everything is copacetic. Sometimes it's not. And so you constantly have to be reevaluating. I would say if you haven't reevaluated your budget in the last season, it's high time to do so. And I feel that it will, I don't know this for a fact, but yet I know it's true, will save you a lot of money. So definitely do that. And the 10th tip that I have is you've got to plan your taxes. And by that, I mean a couple things. First of all, if you are getting a huge amount of tax back as a refund, you are paying too much into the system and you may need to go to your, departments at work and see what you can do about that and fix your earnings coming in, if you will. And something else, if you are an influencer or an independent contractor or someone who owns a small business or self-employed, you need to be setting money aside to pay those quarterly, seasonally, yearly taxes. Make sure that you are checking on that. And if you are currently in a tax plan with the IRS, that's got to be your first priority before you can pay anything, before you can do an emergency fund, before any of this stuff happens. You need to be square with the government because they are the only agency on earth who can take not just your livelihood, your paycheck, they can take your home, your vehicle, your assets, your property. They can even take your freedom. And so if you are not right with your taxes, nothing else is going to be right either. So you really have got to make a priority out of that. A lot of people aren't telling you that, but it's something to consider. Did you know that 1 in 200 Americans is behind on their taxes? And 1 in 125 Americans is on some kind of tax plan with the government? You got to get right with your taxes. You got to make sure that you are doing that and everything is square with that first. If it is not, especially if you are a small business owner or someone who is working for themselves from home, you have got to get on that. You got to have a plan. You have to start having deductions for those taxes, making sure that money is right. And if you are a homeowner, you have also got to be doing that for your state taxes. You have to make sure everything is current and up to date, as well as for your vehicle. Make sure your taxes, your tags, all that stuff's taken care of, because that's how you make your money. You have to have a roof over your head. You have to have transportation in some capacity. You've got to ensure financial success in terms of your business, because that's your wealth management and that's what you're passing down to your family, and that's how you're going to help yourself. You got to get your taxes in order before you do absolutely anything else, period. So guys, those are my 10 simple steps for saving money today. I hope that they will be a thought-provoking topic for you. I definitely would love for you all to leave me a comment and let me know if you are utilizing any of these 10 steps or if you have done something similar into the past. I would definitely like to hear about that. As well, after this broadcast, I will be putting up sometime in the next few hours an infographic for these 10 steps. Also remember that currently on the ladypreferstosave.com, under the meal planning section, there are now new printable menu plans. Definitely check that out. On the ladypreferstosave.com/printables, there are budget and finance printables and infographics and things that might also be resourced to you. So definitely check that out as well. I will also, at the end of this broadcast, be putting up the links for our 2 budget groups. The first, Ladies Prefer to Save group, which is an offshoot of this group that you're watching right now, all about budgeting and financial success. And there's also a separate group for the 2018 No Spend Year accountability and community group that's all about people who want to get together, whether that be just for a month or a week or season or the year, and not spend, and see how they can be more financially prudent moving forward. We would love to have you all in the group. Definitely check us out. There are some awesome moderators and ladies in these groups and great discussion, and all are welcome. Please join. We would love to have you. And with that said, I want to leave you with this. Please be kind.
Okay, everyone, so those were my 10 tips for ways you can start saving today in your own particular walk of life, as well as my week 5 check-in for my 2018 No Spend Challenge. I also wanted to mention that, again, we do have 2 awesome Facebook communities that you can join. The first being the 2018 No Spend Year Community Accountability Group. I will put the link for that group in the description bar below. We also have a secondary group, which is the Ladies Prefer to Save, that is not about the No Spend Challenge, but about financial success, budgeting, meal planning, meal prep, and all those sorts of things that you can also join if that's more your cup of tea. The link to that will also be in the description bar below. I also want to mention that currently on the ladypreferstosave.com/printables, there's 2 new infographics up and available for you. The first one being 10 steps to start saving money today, based on the Facebook live broadcast that you just watched, as well as a new infographic on how to start and particularly ratios based on a zero-based budget that might be something to help you. Consider just downloading them. They're free. PDF files that you might want to keep on your phone or your tablet when you are planning your next budget. Just something to keep in mind. I know personally I like to have a nice shiny little graphic sometimes to help me along, so that might be a resource for you. Also, something to mention on theladypreferstosave.com/free weekly meal plans. There are going to be each Monday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time here in the States. I will be uploading new digital meal plans, so definitely go check those out. I will also link that in the description bar below. Keep in mind that my meal plans are plant-based or whole foods plant-based, but of course they can be adapted to whatever your particular dietary needs are at home. Just something to keep in mind that when you're meal planning and you're meal prepping and you're eating at home, you're not only saving money, but you will be eating a healthier diet. And so that's just something that might be a good resource for you. Also, something that I want to